Destination mark.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here. Welcome to episode 2 of the Bandicast post-launch. I guess overall that would be episode 10, I think. Yeah, episode 10 of like the overall Bandicast. That's crazy. That's a good intro. Welcome back. We got the first veteran today for this episode, and you already know her. I don't have to give a whole introduction. Welcome back, Miharu the Fox. Hello.
Hey guys, it's Miharu. I was just gonna remain quiet for that intro because I was just like, this is a stupid intro. I want you to just completely screw it up, make it sound really awkward.
I never know how to begin my intros, or do my intros. But yeah, so this is the first, veteran. I mean, we did see you in episode 6 with Jump Button. That was because you had your one question, which sparked like the whole conversation, which was super cool.
Right.
This, though, is like your official return to really talking about Crash again. So, as I didn't get as much time in the previous episode as State because we were on a time crunch with Lou, but basically for the veteran episodes, we're going to have different... It's going to be less of like those kinds of questions about asking about the veterans. I mean, now that you've gotten to know everyone from the original run of the Bandicast, now what we're doing is we're going to have the returning guests come on, and then we're just going to riff on Crash 4. So...
Okay.
I think that's what we'll do. And with that said, there isn't much left to say except for us getting into our main question, which will spark the rest of the conversation for this podcast, which is, how much did you enjoy Crash 4, and what are your overall thoughts and opinions on the game? And do you have what are your favorite and least favorite aspects of Crash 4?
Okay, let's see. Well, overall, I did really enjoy it a lot. I like it more than the original trilogy. Like, if you can count it as part of, like, the originals, going 1, 2, 3, 4, then I'd have to say that 4 is my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, God, I don't know if I could say these things, like, on the spot. I did a review, so,
Yeah.
Please just go check out the review for, like, my thoughts and opinions, because I pretty much say everything there.
Yeah, that quick fire, well thought out response to the game. Everything. I will link that down below. In fact, yeah, you can check out Miharu's review. Were there things that you remember immediately from the review that you wanted to echo that might, spur a conversation, or is there anything you have in your mind right now based off the game? Any rants? Any criticisms?
Well, I mean, I guess I can only say what other, reviewers and YouTubers have said. There's a lot in the game, which is good, but it's also like weird. Like, just the sheer amount of content in the game, it makes it really... I mean, obviously, it's a hard game. It's very hard to complete. Although I don't care about 100% completion, I'm not even going for that. Like, not even 100%, like let alone 106. I don't care. Like, so, but because of the amount of content the game has, like, it's a good thing, but also a bad thing, because it's just, there's so much to do, and it's like, at the same time you think, well, it's good because replayability or whatever, but, it's like, yeah, but the thing is, you have to replay the levels so many times to do things. It's like, okay, so you replay things, that's how you get good. Well, I know, but, like, the thing is, I'm replaying them over and over because I suck at them, and I keep dying. Like, look, I'm not the best person to talk to when it comes to Crash. I'm just not, because, like, Crash has a challenge that I don't really like very much. This is why I've always preferred Spyro. But anyway, I know people, like, oh, they really like a challenge, and they're just like, well, Crash is challenging and stuff like that. It's like, but if I suck, then it's like, I'm not gonna get good. I'm just gonna keep sucking at it, and it's like gonna be annoying, and I'm gonna get a headache from it.
The thing is, I think that level of challenge is best suited for a game that takes the gameplay a bit easier. Like something like Spyro. If they had you replaying levels for different collectibles and remixes of those same levels for newer collectibles and whatnot, um, having that many collectibles, I think the balance was a little askew, in that, yeah, so what you're saying, you have all these collectibles, but the levels are already very intricately built, even on Crash standards, because Crash standards, you can definitely see that they're going for a Crash 1 approach, which, I mean, in my opinion, is perfectly fine. Again, for those who, who have heard me in previous podcasts, Crash 1 was my first game, so I'm already used to Crash 1's challenge factor. This was kind of a response to that challenge factor, saying, well, we can one-up that. And while the beginning of the game starts off easy enough in terms of just getting from beginning to end of each level, the later ones definitely ramp it up, which is fine, but then you start to see the bits where it's like, okay, well, that was kind of unfair, and there are a bunch of enemies here, and it's like, the more you go along each level, the more you start to see that there are the less safe zones there are per level.
Right. The longer you go, the more stressful and annoying it becomes.
Basically.
Like, even Cat Icarus said, it's the worst one to complete. It is the worst Crash Bandicoot game to complete, probably.
I think the reason for that too is because I should also say, by the way, these veteran in fact most of these post-launch. Well, it's post-launch. If you haven't played the game, I would definitely recommend you play as much as you can, at least to the end of the story, to the Final Cortex fight, before listening to these following podcasts, because we're gonna get into some very spoilery territory. Full stop. So just, no matter what, the endings, everything, we're going to be talking about that stuff in here. So, not necessarily in this podcast, but we will bring stuff up like that with like little to no warning. So, yes, I think the problem with completing Crash 4 all the way through, whether that's for 100 or 106, is that they expect you to literally obtain everything for these endings, and that's not usually the case in most of the Crash games. I mean, sure, it is for... Okay, well, I kind of lie. It is for Crash 2 and 3 if you're talking like the original trilogy, or the very Naughty Dog-esque games. But here, they want you to really go for like the highest of the highs. Like, Sapphires still don't mean anything for relics. Golds this time don't necessarily mean anything because they want you to get platinums. And it's like, why isn't platinum just for trophies' sake? For like the PS4 trophy or whatever.
Right, I don't understand, like, why is gold there if it doesn't mean anything? And, like, getting 106% doesn't even mean anything. I mean, like, I'm sure, don't you get a trophy for that, right? You get a trophy for it. And, and you get bragging rights. But, and then it's like, oh, guess what? You also get, like, a 10-second cutscene. Okay, great. Something I can watch on YouTube. I don't care. Look, like, small cutscenes are the worst reward in any video game. And I'm sorry, I should have started out with the positives. I really like this game. It's a really it's a really colorful and well animated game, and I love Engine and Dingodile. Those are my favorite characters, and like I love them in this game. The gameplay is fantastic. I like being able to play as other characters, even though Cortex sucks. Tawna's a little clunky, but Dingodile is pretty fun, and I love all the different skins and stuff like that. It's got good things about it, but when you get down to it, it's just, God, this game is so difficult.
However, that is the one thing I did definitely appreciate from Nitro's review, seeing as he was like an outsider to Crash, so it's totally from the perspective of someone who has not really played the games much at all, only like a couple games, and then diving just into this one, which is just full of stuff for veterans, and is basically kind of built for veterans, to a degree. Like casuals who are looking for like a just general experience of like, okay, that was fun. Like, I would recommend playing something like Lucky's Tale, or, and not saying that it's, oh, that's just a kiddie platformer game. That's just like a too easy platformer game. Like, I'm not even saying that. I'm saying because for those who nowadays are trying to get into platformers and have maybe tried Insane and then seen Crash 4 and went, oh, well, I tried Insane, that was fun, let me play Crash 4. It's not the same experience necessarily, because that Crash 4 is literally built to go a step beyond the originals, and the originals already have these things about them where people describe them very similarly, no matter who it is that's a split, who's talking about the games. It could be casuals or even YouTubers or whoever alike, or fans who just like, oh yeah, I went back and played OG Crash 2 or Crash 3, and wow, that wasn't the same as I thought it was years ago, or whatever. And then they all get to Crash 1 and they go, damn, that game was hard. But like, this game takes it beyond, and we're not overemphasizing it for the sake of overemphasizing it. It's the fact that that's literally how it is. Like, I don't know if casuals are going to necessarily find it fun because of how high the curve goes, the difficulty curve goes in later worlds, but it seems Crash 4 is trying to hit the veterans and trying to hit those who love a good challenge. I mean, it's a joke, sure, to say it, but those Dark Souls types, or those whoever types who love games that kind of like, okay, out the gate, we're going to kind of, challenge you a bit. It takes the simplicity of Crash and then tries to apply that modern, harder game sense to it, which I don't have a problem with, again, but like, I see where it's definitely messed up, because I'm still trying to 106% it right now. I have 100%, but even that, oof, it took some doing. I don't even know if I think I did it on the last Crash 4 stream we hosted, but no, in fact we did. No, in fact we did, because then I remember levels like Bears Repeating, where, dear God, it took me like, I think an hour and a half to do that level because of Polar segment. And that's where I think we should also adopt Caddy's thing, where he was like, if you're demanding perfection from me, then I kind of demand perfection from you. Certain bits, certain little maybe glitches here and there, not as bad as Insane, but mainly like the hitboxes and little design choices. Polar felt fine in Insane to control in his levels, but then controlling him in Bears Repeating, and even the Schnurgle in Crash Landed, it feels very strange, and you kind of just drift from side to side when you're trying to turn. And there are these 4 fucking little crates that are in a row that you have to start from, I think, right to left to clear them all out in one part in the Schnurgle segment in Crash Landed. And I fucking raged at 4 crates because I could not grab them all, or I would miss a few, or whatever. And it's like, the controls aren't, for that, aren't as tight as they could be. Or something, I don't know. But, there aren't many vehicle levels. The jetboard feels okay to control because they tried to make it a natural improvement from the jetboard in Crash 2. You could just hold square to jet along and boost. You don't have like boost bursts. You have like one consistent boost you can hold down. Even like slowing down, you would think it would be kind of clunky and weird because most vehicles like that are, but no, I think the jetboard in Crash 4, like in general, I can say, is pretty spot on with its controls. You can stop almost on a dime, and it doesn't feel that bad to me. Again, not many vehicle levels in Crash 4 though, because of the fact that they wanted to focus like on pure platforming. You don't even get superpowers like in Crash 3 or whatever they're called, the abilities basically. You just get the triple spin at the end of the game.
Which is also weird, like, as an ability that you get, for finishing the game. Because just like, okay, what's this triple spin gonna do? Okay, it's gonna make you go faster. It's kind of like the running shoes, but not really.
It's like a strategic spin on the dash.
Right, and then people are just like, well, how do you even use this? Because I'm not using. They're just like, oh, you have to tap it in a rhythm. Why? I'm sorry, why? It's just like what? Like also, how did you figure that? It's like, oh, I know, you just have to tap it rhythmically, like games do. What do you mean, like games do? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I don't understand. Like people. They say things are so easy. It's just like, why don't you just look for that crate from afar that's over there blending in with the background? Like, sure, not everyone sees well. Like, obviously, I can't see well. I don't have that much of an attention span. I'm just gonna stop and look around. Where can I find crates? I expect crates to, like, even if they're hidden, I expect to at least see them. They're not gonna blend in with the environment.
Yeah, no, there are
Stuff
some.
like that.
No, yeah, no, Crash 4 is notorious for taking what Naughty Dog and by extension Vivi like kind of did in periodic little spurts amongst the three games, and in one single game just did it like almost everywhere. So you've got an abundance of crates that are way out of frame, and then you have to like use the camera to kind of move them around. I do like the camera in Crash 4 because you can actually control it to a degree. It's one of those like directional moving kind of things. So like you just kind of like you can move the camera, you can like edge it sort of. It's really hard to explain, but like it's not a free roaming camera. It's you move it a bit, and then you can kind of see more like in a corner or off to the side or something. And it's very limited in its movement, but it kind of gives you an extra bit of edge so you can like look around something or see a crate kind of like down below where you might not have been able to see it before.
Yeah.
I forget what level it was. There was one level. Let me see. Well, I had a thought, but it was the wrong thought. So anyway, I'm gonna ignore that. I was thinking of a fan animation thing. I was thinking of well, not animation, but Cod Monkey's fucking insane mod, because he put crates like in the bottom of like, like there's the water and you can't touch the water, right? But like he moved the kill line so you don't exactly die when you hit the water. And he put crates underneath the surface that are kind of hard to see, but Crash 4 would do something like that. That's why I bring that up.
Yeah.
Because
that's like hiding the gem under the bridge or something.
yeah, or those boxes behind the out of sight from the fucking stairs, those steps at the very beginning of Run It By You. You wouldn't know they're there unless you just start spinning around. I mean, in hindsight, Run It By You isn't the first level to do that. As early as Rude Awakening, they put one crate behind a fucking totem pillar. And that's very kind of, OG Crash-esque. But again, they just took it and were like, hey, except you can't see the crates at all in Run It By You, but there are 6 crates there, so if anyone who's listening to this are like, oh, I was missing 6 crates in Run It By You, check the very beginning.
Yeah. It's just like, well, all you have to do is just do guesswork and spin around where you can't see things. Like, okay, but like, why exactly do I have to do that? Why can't everything just kind of be a little bit straightforward? Like, why do things have to be super hidden? I guess I understand in some levels, like, oh, okay, that's a clever hiding spot, but it was just like, no, it's completely out of sight. You have to go behind this thing, behind this barrel to, like, spin a exclamation point crate or whatever, and then it over on the side you have to move the camera to where you can't see. Like, that's clever, right? It's like, no, it's not clever. That's just stupid. Like, don't do that.
Which is also in Run It By You. Run It By You is just notorious, and even it's one of my least favorite levels. It's notorious for really crazy, dumb shit like that. But I was thinking of something else too. What was it? Oh God, I had another level in my head, and I lost it. Well, point being though, yeah, no, there are some. Oh no, just thought of it. Not Crash Compactor, but I think it was, what's the one before it? Like the first level of Engines area?
A real grind?
Yes. The the crates that are in the tires by the bonus round.
Yeah. Those suck.
You can ask yourself out if you don't grab the crate that's in because the bonus platformers on the tires that are on the right side, and on each inside each thing of tires are one crate on either side. But if you don't grab that first crate and then jump on the bonus pad, do the bonus round and come back, it's gonna land on the other side to reveal the other crate that's hiding where the bonus platform just was before you started. So if you didn't get the one, it will land in that spot, and then you can't get it, and you'll have asked yourself out of a crate.
Yeah, it's the worst.
It's some notorious shit. I mean, I live for certain secrets of that caliber, sort of, but when it gets too, like, weird like that, yeah, I start going, like, how the fuck? Okay, no, here's one that's bad. Like, really, like, how the fuck was anyone supposed to find that? The hidden gem in the inverted version, I think, of Dino Dash? It was either Dino Dash or it was, Dingos, which I forget what it's called.
Pretty sure it was Dino Dash, if you're talking about that one that's in the crevice in the wall or something.
Yeah, it's right before one of the dino segments where you get chased, and you have to, like... Yeah, it's like in a log or something, or a giant, like, tree fell over, and that's just part of the environment. But, like, there's this part where you can... Before you actually, like, enter the chase sequence, you can, like... You have to, like, go to the left, and there's a hole in there which you can't see, and even with the since it's inverted and it's got that crayon effect, it's just hard to see. You can't even move the camera and see it, and it's just hiding out in there. The hidden gem's just in there.
Messes with your eyes, like it's in a cave, and, like, you know, you wouldn't even know that hole is there.
Plus, it's not there in the original.
Right. It's like, we added something in this, like, really brightly colored crayon effect world. You like that? Like, no, I really don't, actually.
But in terms of, like, pure navigation and just trying to beat a level from beginning to end, I think the worst for me is Toxic Tunnels. Without going for the gem path and for doing all that stuff, just going from beginning to end, near the end, it gets kind of crazy. And I talked about it in my Vid Games playthrough with my brother on the game, where I was like, yeah, there could have been, like, you could have, like, deleted one of the bats from the ending, taken, like, not put a bat there, or, like, the little electrical rods that kind of rotate along with those, you know, cylindrical platforms, like, maybe, like, one of those could have been gone. The challenge would have still been there, but it kind of feels overwhelming. And I think that is the exact word to describe Crash 4's difficulty, and collecting is overwhelming.
It's... God. And look, I'm no stranger to games with a ton of collectibles. I play Donkey Kong 64. I never completed it, but I played that game. I actually love that game, but it's done in a different way. There are a ton of collectibles, but, you know, aside from having to replay some things because you have to first collect all the characters, like, you could do that and then basically go back, and then you spend a lot of time in one level, but you don't have to continuously replay the level. That's the thing. I'd rather spend a lot of time in one level than have to, like, go back, like, because I died, or, yeah. Like, there's a difference.
Yes. And the thing, too, is that with me saying that there's an unnatural balance in the collectibles towards 100 or 106% completion, is how I said, everything is required, everything is necessary. There are no real bonuses to grab, unless you want to make those collectibles bonuses if your sole mission in the game while playing is just to get to the end and beat Cortex, which is fine. Then if that's what your experience is going to be, that's fine. I don't think I actually finished that thought about Nitrorad's thing. He says, yeah, I don't know why everyone's trying to go all crazy about, you know, he gets it, but he goes, why don't you just start the experience by casually running through and just grabbing what you want to grab? Because at that point, you can make the game as challenging as you want. Oh, you heard something somewhere behind a barrel? Well, you can do that and see where it leads. Or if you don't know about it or don't want to even go through the trouble, you don't have to. And that's fine. Obviously, that's how it could be for any game. If you don't want to grab the relics in Crash 2 or the gems in Crash 3, you don't have to. But if you want to add a challenge, sure. Except that not everything was necessarily required. Again, platinum relics were not required in Crash 3. Almost everything else, like, kind of is. I mean, you need all the crystals, duh. All the gems, sure, because gems unlock, relics unlock areas in the 6th warp room to take you to places with more gems and more relics, and that's fine. It sounds kind of overwhelming in that sense, but it kind of isn't when you're revisiting areas that don't require that much challenge from you, or to overcome. When Crash
Right.
4 does, the levels themselves get harder. They get harder. I have to put emphasis on that. If you're playing, I could beat fucking Crash 2 or Crash 3 casually in like under an hour. It's gonna take me maybe 2, 3, I don't know, 3, to beat Crash 4 casually, because the levels ramp up. They're legitimately, whether you're playing casually or you're playing as a veteran or lover of those hardcore games or whatever that like are there for challenge. Like, there's a challenge factor. Beat the challenge. That's your goal as a player. Then sure, I mean, you're gonna have an okay time, to the point where you start to realize all the inverted gems are needed. You have to die less than 3 times. You have to get that hidden gem. And then by the time you're trying to do 106, you gotta do perfect relics. You don't have to get the hidden gem for those, but you gotta do everything else perfect. Cannot die once. Let me stress. Later levels are way harder. You gotta do toxic tunnels. Do all of that. Can't die. And it gets incredibly overwhelming. And that's where I am right now. I want to do it for the sake of, I just want to complete it because I'm stupid and I want to fucking get that platinum trophy. That's just me because it's me and I'm willing to go through that. But for everyone else who's like, what the fuck, dude? I didn't know it was going to be that tough. Yeah. It's oof.
That's a good way to describe it. It's fun, but it's not fun.
I mean, that's true.
Like,
I'm playing casually on my PS5 right now, and I'm like, I think not even at entropy yet, because that's where the difficulty ramps up, and that's where I start to kind of go, I don't know if I want to progress anymore right now. I'll go back and do some fucking inverted gems or some flashback tapes. Like, that's where it's like, oh boy, like, I don't even want
Right.
to progress anymore. Well, not anymore, but like, it takes me a while to get back up to wanting to progress further, because that's where levels legitimately get difficult.
well, I'm at the point right now where I'm just like, what else can I even do in this game? Because, like, all that's left are gems that I don't want to get, or that I can't get. You know, the thing is, once I got a perfect relic on Cortex Castle, I said, that's it. I've beaten the game. That's my completion. I'm done.
Have you even come back to Crash 4 after, like, all the initial streams and all that jazz? Like, have you even returned to Crash 4, like, even casually? Just to be like, oh, I'll do some Crash 4.
No. Not by myself, at least. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I sort of did it when we were doing share play for a bit, but...
Yeah, that's true. Like, when we're hanging out, that's, like, one thing. But, like, going back, like you're by yourself, you're like, oh, I'm bored, I'm gonna play something. I'm gonna play Crash 4. Like, not as much, huh?
No. Because after... Like I said, I'm at the point where I don't even know what to do anymore. Because, like, oh, I could just, like, I haven't gotten all the flashback tapes yet. It's like, oh, that's because they're in really hard levels where it's like, I don't... like, I don't want to go through those without dying because it's really hard. And there's some gems where it's just like, well, it's either the death gems or some other like all boxes or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Because for a perfect
Actually,
run...
it's the death gems that suck.
Yeah. Yeah, especially for those levels that are, like, literally from, like, Bermudula onward. That's where things just ramp up. And the thing about, where the hell was I going with that? The thing about the bonuses, like I was saying, because I'm not sure I've quite finished that, there really are none. The only thing out of all of that they demand you to get, if you want to get as much of the percentage as possible, whether you're going for 100 or 106, almost everything in the game to the highest degree, all the platinum relic whatevers for the flashback tapes, which means breaking all crates, and even those get really fucking hard later on. Getting all gems for both regular versions and inverted versions of each level, doing all that nonsense, getting all platinum time trial relics, all that stuff. The only thing that is even remotely considered a bonus or bragging rights are the dev time relics. And it's like, who the fuck's gonna go for that besides YouTubers who want to do it for the review?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna fucking go for any of that shit. I only have, like, currently, right now, at the time of this podcast recording, I only have, like, 2 platinums that I got by accident. Because now they demand you go fast through each level that's hard as fuck to go through normally. And it's like, you really need to learn those levels. Which is fine that you have to learn the levels by doing these challenges. I just don't like the fact that if I'm trying to go the extra mile to do all the bonus stuff, it's not necessarily even bonus. It's required. And where's the fun in trying to go for stuff to grab? As I like bonuses. How come platinum relics couldn't have been the bonus time trials, or how come perfect relics couldn't have been a bonus just for the trophy? I mean, there is a trophy for getting all perfect relics, but that should have just been a trophy, not fucking required for a 30-second ending.
Right. Why do games always have these things that seem like they should be bonuses, but it's actually required? Like, what did I say that recently for? It was for Medieval, I think. I was playing Medieval, and the dragon armor, that seems like a bonus thing. It's required.
Oh, yeah. That's
like,
right.
What?
Yeah, exactly. It's wild. I don't... Ugh. Like, I wouldn't... And see, that's what I'm saying, the balance. Either make some of those collectibles bonuses and keep the levels about as hard as they are, or make the levels at least a bit easier, because my whole point about saying, oh, I could beat Crash 2 and Crash 3 under an hour, because the same consistent difficulty is basically present throughout all the warp rooms, all the levels in those games. But Crash 4 literally goes, okay, well, there's some challenge, some bits here and there from, like, the start of the game going through. So, you know, they're easy enough to kind of go through, but certain boxes are placed where, oh, it's kind of challenging. Okay, fine, whatever. And I'm not even talking about hidden. I mean, like, on rail grind segments and shit. Like, the ones, trying to nail the rail grinding segment in Booty Calls still is kind of tough for me, because I just have to learn it. And that's fine. I enjoy that. But then you get, again, to levels that come way later, like in, I'm just going to say, Bermugula onward. Literally, I think others will agree that Bermugula onward is just where it gets fucking hard. And
well,
then,
I think it sort of starts in the Agapus dimension just a little bit, but yeah.
A little bit, yeah. But there are enemies that just are fucking hard. The little fucking shooters, those little guys with the guns that fucking, I hate them. Not stowing away, but I think it was Out for Launch or something like that.
Out for Launch.
Oh, God. But there's not a really cleverly constructed balance in collectibles, how you're required to learn each level and run through each level perfectly without dying, collecting all those hard as fuck to find sometimes crates, and nabbing the hidden gem, even though it's not required for perfect relics, but it's still there because you need the gem if you want to get everything else, and it's required for 100%. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
Some of these things need to be a bit easier, and that's not me saying make it simpler because I can't beat it. It's more of, well, no, I mean, it's legitimately tough. It's actually challenging.
It almost makes me think, like, who is this geared toward? Like, is this geared toward only veterans? Like, what's going on?
That's what I'm saying, yeah. I mean, first and foremost, disregarding the Easter eggs, the references, the nods here and there, this and that, it is still for the veterans, because you get that nostalgic feeling when they start doing things like, oh, they're sampling music, that's fucking dope. Oh, the Crash Landed's opening segment is reminiscent of Snow Go. Oh, that's cool. But even that is like, whatever. Veterans know how to play Crash. And I said this in the last podcast with Lou. They did a good job in being like, okay, we know that you know the classics, but do you know them when we put them in more challenging scenarios. And Crash 4 does do a good job at that at the start. Again, the me saying, oh, the unfair bits, you can delete a bat here, delete an enemy here, whatever, that's more so nitpicking, but that's like my personal nitpicking because I kind of take issue with it, but it's not like the worst thing I could critique. It's that balance. That balance is the harshest thing you could possibly critique because everyone has, even without saying the words like perfect balance, like between collectibles and challenge. That's basically what they're talking about because of how they expect you to grab everything, how they expect you to be perfect. And then you get things like, oh, I probably glitched here by accident, or oh, Polar does not have this consistent hitbox, or oh this, or oh that. And then that's when Caddy says, oh, if you demand perfection for me, then I demand perfection for you. And I'm just slurring my words at this point. I'm talking too fast. So you say something. Your turn.
I don't know. I'd probably slur my words too. I have nothing else to say. I mean, like, the thing is, like I said, there's a difference between something like Crash 4, which has a lot of collectibles, and DK64, which has a lot of collectibles. Because one is more like arcade style, where it's like, if you want to get a bunch of these things, you're going to have to do the same level over and over and over again, and then just get good at the game. Whereas in DK64, it's like, there's a lot of collectibles in these levels, but that's because the worlds are very large, and you have to do a lot of stupid minigames in them, and, you just have to search high and low for it. It just takes a long time, and it's a different kind of tedious. So... I kind of prefer the DK64 way.
I mean, for something almost somewhat similar in certain aspects, for the Mario fans listening, I'll say this. It's basically like if you played Mario Galaxy 1 with inklings of Mario Galaxy 2, but it was all absolutely required to not just beat the game, but at the same time, if those worlds and those galaxies were hard as shit to complete even on a standard run. Because some can be kind of weird, some can be tedious with time trial shit in a different way from Crash. Like, complete a challenge with, 100 seconds or some bullshit like that. But, I say this to explain it now for you, so you can understand what I'm talking about. You've got Mario Galaxy 1 where you can play the whole game as Mario, and if you get all 121 stars, you can then unlock the ability to play as Luigi. Except it's not playing as Luigi in terms of Crash and Coco and Crash 4 or even Insane where you can switch between them. You're playing the whole game again as Luigi. And that means...
So it's like a New Game Plus, but Luigi.
Yeah, so you're doing all 121 stars again but as Luigi. You get a slightly different ending and whatever. I've done that, and it's kind of tedious. I like Galaxy 2's approach because when you find Luigi at a certain point, then you can just switch between them as is your leisure, and it's not required. But then they have a thing called green stars, which is somewhat the substitute for how Galaxy 1 handled, okay, Mario goes all the way through and then Luigi goes all the way through, so it's 242 stars or whatever. But then in Galaxy 2, you've got green stars, and they're just randomly hidden, like the hidden gems, in different galaxies, and you have to go back through, and all you have to go off of where they are the shimmering. You have to hear a shimmering, and if you hear that they're around someone, you have to find it. But
that's like dragons in Spyro 1.
But now imagine that, but the game is way fucking harder, and all of that shit was required, absolutely, to even see an extra ending. That's kind of what Crash 4 does, because the that's basically what Crash 4 is. It's not. It doesn't sound as fun if you're putting the Crash 4 tactic into that Mario perspective, because that would make it very tedious. Except that's what Crash 4 does, and it's that disrupted balance that makes it so tedious to go through. So I think the solution, not that they can fix it at this point, but the solution would have been to either Like, fucking make the levels way goddamn easier, and then maybe just kind of make the challenges. Some challenges should be bonuses. I'm sorry, like dying less than 3 times should be a bonus. Like, you shouldn't have to demand that much perfection when you already have a perfect relic where you can't even die at all. I mean, sure, that means that you'll automatically grab the 3 or less gem, but like one of those things. Okay, maybe instead of the 3 deaths or less, it should be the perfect relic. Should be the bonus. That should be the bonus because that's basically Crash 1. That's why the hidden gem isn't required, because at that point, what do you have? 3 deaths or less, break all the crates, and collect all the Wumpa fruit. Mm-hmm. That's just Crash 1. So.
Exactly. It could have just been another Crash 1, which would have been fine, I guess.
Which wouldn't have been that bad if the levels weren't so difficult. So either ease up on the levels or ease up on the challenges. Both are ramped up to the hardest they could possibly be, while quote-unquote still being fair, except a lot of the time it feels very unfair.
Yeah. It's like, there's no point in putting yourself through hell to get a 10-second cutscene as your reward. There's just no point to it. Like, I don't get it. I never have. And it's, you know what? Same thing with Year of the Dragon. Because your reward is a cutscene. Like, there's no point in putting yourself through that hell.
Yeah, that's why Spyro 3 feels kind of tedious too, because like it's got all the stuff you have to do, because you have to come back to levels as different characters, and some of those challenges I just do not like. And
I have no problem with backtracking. Backtracking is fine. It's just the challenges themselves that suck, and then the stupid Yeti race, and yeah.
See, because I think what they're trying to do is something like what I want to see done in the new Spyro game. How we've sort of talked about this, like not I don't think online, but I think to ourselves, where how we've said before, if we want to see a new Spyro game, we want to see something we want to see it kind of return to a more Spyro 1 style, where it's very more straightforward and you're not doing like as many tasks for like all these NPCs and whatnot.
Yes.
Because Spyro 1. And the reason why I like Crash 1 as well is because both of those first games in those franchises have this very straightforward sense of, well, just here it is. So just do what you want to do in terms of collectibles. You got to go through all the levels to beat the game. That's fucking given. But like, and that's what Crash 4 is trying to do, which is fine. And it's trying to evolve it, which is fine. But like, it was literally built too hard to achieve all of that when you want to go for everything. I can get through Spyro 1 in like nothing. It takes like maybe an hour, maybe less if I'm going real quick. Actually, it takes way less time in Spyro 1, particularly because of the fact that you just have to meet each balloonist's requirements. That's like basically it.
Yeah. My favorite types of games are the ones where I can beat it casually and I had a lot of fun doing it, and then maybe, hey, if I want to go back and then get some of the extra stuff, I'll do that. And then, like, I can, have some fun just, like, casually taking my time and getting stuff. That's why I like Horizon so much. It's because, like, I had a lot of fun playing the game, got to the end, and I was like, I want to do the bonus stuff, the extra stuff, and then it's just really fun to, ride around to taking your time and, getting all those other trophies. I don't need them, but like whatever, I have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah. And for Crash 4, that got me thinking, everything being ramped up, and I mean almost every fucking aspect, is not only Crash 4's biggest virtue, but also its biggest vice, for that very reason. If you want to go back, like how me right now, I'm playing casually on my PlayStation 5, so if you want to go back and collect stuff, at that point, it can depend on your skill level. Like, oh, can you even reach that box over there? If not, then you shouldn't really waste your time on it, except that, or bother with it and just go along your way. You won't get the gem for it, but, whatever. The thing is, what it kind of does is go, okay, so do you want to go for these certain things? Okay. Do you know where all the box placements are? If you do, cool. Can you get them? Because some of them are tough. You can't control your speed on rail grind segments. You have to be able to be quick enough to drop down, move to the right, move to the left, come back up, come back down, move to the left, go up, jump, slow down time for this one part. You have to learn that.
To the left, to the left, to the right.
Because that's how those segments play out. And then it's like, so it doesn't matter what you're going for. There is like the utmost challenge to it. Do you want the hidden gems? Cool. Some of them are hidden in butt-fuck places where it's like, how was I supposed to find that? Boxes are either hidden. There are a ton of boxes that are throughout the game that are hidden out of frame. There are boxes that you can ass yourself out of. Like the bonus platforms. The bonus platform, like I was saying in, what the fuck is the level called?
Which one?
The engine one.
A real grind?
Yeah, yes, yeah. So, like, you can ask yourself out of boxes. You can miss boxes. So sometimes those gems aren't... You're not going to really want to go for them. Okay, I'll do some flashback tapes. Fine. How many do you want to do? Because some of them get really fucking hard. Okay, well then I want to get to the end. Bermuda onward. Like, everything has this challenge to it that's like... Alright, well, fuck.
It's like, can I do nothing casually and have fun with it?
That's what I'm saying. Casuals might not, who've played Insane and haven't really grown up with Crash, might be like, okay, well, Crash 4 sounds fun. Be prepared for that. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't want to scare people away from it. I want them to try the game. The game is fucking fun. But it's exactly that word. I mean, if you're a casual who just likes to play games to the end and not go for anything, for any game, but you go to Crash 4, you're still going to run into some stuff that's like, okay, this is tough. I'm just letting you know that, because, and then for us who are like trying to go for extra stuff, or even for other people, you see the YouTubers who have gone through hell and back, or the reviewers, we all have those like war stories where it's like, this game is crazy. And when really critiquing, like taking the personality away and of like looking all disheveled and like, guys, this game is hard. Like taking that all, the overly, out of the way, base blanket statement, the game's fun. You might not want to go for everything, because unless you really want to train yourself, sure, just be prepared for the fact that boxes are hidden in crazy places. Hidden gems are hidden in crazy places. Flashback tapes later on, mainly in like the Coco parts, get really fucking hard. Bermuda onward, again, can't stress that enough. The level, just getting to the end sometimes can be quite the challenge. Perfect Relics, dear God, just be prepared.
It's too much. It's fun. I really enjoy it, but it's just so stressful.
Yeah, we need to see a balance. We should have seen a balance. We weren't. I don't think anyone was prepared for it being that ramped up. Ramping it up is fine, like I said, but ramping it up to where everything's required for those high percentages. And not just when I say everything, I mean like I was trying to say earlier, like duh, Crash 2, Crash 3, hidden endings, you need everything, but not to the highest degree. You don't need the platinum relics in Crash 2 or 3, and they chose that intentionally to not be the case. Even some of the golds can be kind of tough. Platinums are there for those who are the tryhards, who want to be like, I got all the platinum relics. Fine. Look at Caddy's video. Fine. That's fine. But it's not required. Instead, they made a whole other time trial relic for that shit. They made the dev times. And platinums are now required. And platinums are already tough because, as any Crash vet knows, even if you've only played like 2 or 3 a few times, but you've seen, or rather 3 if you're talking about OG, you've seen those relics. You know how tough they can be. Well, now imagine Crash 4 and having to go for the highest because it's required instead of being a bonus. Like, devs could have been a bonus. In fact, to make it worth it, you could have made some kind of extra super hard to obtain crazy bitchin' skin for Crash and Coco for getting dev times. Like the Master Wheels in CTR. In Nitro Field,
Yep.
It was a flex. But fine. Not everyone. It's not needed. And the flex used to be platinum relics, but now they're required. And it's like, no other Crash game has had it required, you know? Like, that's what I'm trying to get at.
It's like, can we get something a little bit more challenging for us badasses out here?
When someone we
Why
know,
you gotta be like that?
when someone we know, like even Abdul, who, by the way, for you guys listening, will be returning, gets fucking befuddled when first playing the game, you know it's a good time. When even speedrunners go, what the fuck? Like, they've developed tactics and stuff later, but that first initial, like, they thought it was going to be a romp, no, it it was awesome watching his streams, because he was like, what the fuck?
What the fuck?
But I guess that's the more negative critique side of today's podcast. Is there anything positive besides the blanket statements you want to get into? Are there any other, like, how much you want to talk about characters or, like, bits of, like, the environments? And I actually love the way the camera angles will... The game is just fucking beautiful to look at, like, in general. But, like, what I particularly like and can really appreciate are those moments in certain levels where they open it up to where you could just see these, like, fucking, like the first level in Rude Awakening. You're going up to the mountain, and the camera just pans up so you can see how gigantic it is because you're getting close to it. Or like in Give It a Spin, where you can see all those buildings and those environments way off in the distance. They just wanted to flex on how good the game looks, and it's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, I pretty much said that. I made a quick statement about how good everything looks, and how I appreciate how well animated the characters are, and Engine is so cute, and Ending It All is so cute.
I saw when we were playing, because the first couple, I think 8 or so, not 8. I don't remember how many parts we did. The first few parts of our playthrough were blind. When we got the review code, we immediately set up to record for the Let's Play. And when I saw him bound in for the first time, I'm like, oh, Aaron's going to love that animation of him just bounding in.
Yeah.
It was great.
Love it.
The one thing that's really weird, though, that I think, this is just like a general thing with me and Engine, is that they treat his big eye as organic, which I thought was really weird. I always thought it was supposed to be robotic. Like, I always thought that, I mean, not in the case of, like, actually robotic like they did in Nitro Kart, but I mean, like, I don't think that eye ever blinked in, like, any other Crash game before post-hiatus stuff came about.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's not supposed to blink, I don't think.
So I thought, like, oh, so that's just like a weird false eye. I mean, and it kind of is, because it pops out in Nitro Field as his losing animation on the podium. But, like, I'm confused as to how that eye is supposed to work, because it looks more natural, it blinks, because I think his regular eye is just like a regular eye, but then the big one, I think, had a smaller pupil. So I don't know. This is just, I don't know.
I don't know. It's so weird with all the different ways that they've portrayed him and his weird eyeball.
Because I don't think Titans even gave him, like, that big eye, like eyelids, because you can see them, because he blinks and everything, and he emotes with them in like Insane and all that stuff. So it must have been like a modern choice then, I guess.
Right, yeah, it probably was.
I don't know. That's just Engine. Who else? Tana. Thoughts?
Tana's good. I really like her design. I'm still questioning about, like, the original Tana, like, what happened to her, like, where is she? Because they don't really explain that. It's just like, oh, we have alternate universe Tana, but, like, I thought she was gonna meet, like, original timeline Tana.
Yeah.
But it never happened, so it's like, okay, then what happened to the other Tana?
Yeah, because that was a very, very, like, quick aside thing from Coco when they first meet. She was like, oh, we lost touch in your universe too, huh? Like, oh, so they lost touch. What does that mean? What happened? um, the one thing I was thinking, not in terms of Tana, but in terms of like Crash and Coco, is that we were gonna see some kind of like Turtles Forever thing, like scenario, or the Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go scenario, where like they would get multiverse versions of themselves all up together for something or other. Because when we were like, oh, there's been a slight cast redesign. Now Crash and Coco are voiced by Jess Harnell and Debbie Derryberry. I was like, well, are we still going to hear Debbie in this game as Coco to some degree? Like, well, that would have to be like an alternate universe Coco or something. And my mind was just like going in a bunch of different places, because when I hear multiverse story, I go, oh shit, this can go like a bunch of different ways. And it didn't really do that. It actually somewhat kept itself quite grounded, which at the same time, it's like, I've heard not complaints, but like kind of, what would you even call them? I guess points, I suppose, brought up about Crash 3. Doesn't matter either OG or Ensign. I guess OG, since that's where they conceptualized the idea. Where even though it's about time travel, there aren't a whole lot. There are aspects where you can see certain things aren't really themed after time travel. So like, mainly like the bosses. This is something I think Only Plays and them came up with, where Tiny's the only one that's actually dressed to fit where he's at.
Yes.
And like every other boss is just every other boss. Like Engine isn't even themed after time travel. You just fight him on the moon. Is that supposed to be the moon landing? I'm not sure.
I don't know. Tropy was wearing knight's armor. I forgot. Yeah, I don't actually know, because it's more world tour than time travel, so it's kind of hard to.
Sorry, yeah. Because for Crash 4, it's somewhat of the same thing. I thought we were gonna like play with the multiverse story in that sense. And now I'm not even sure we should even be calling it a multiverse story, because sure, you have an alternate dimension Tana, but even alternate dimension versions of other characters isn't a new thing. I mean, hello, Evil Crash and Evil Coco from Twinsanity, so like, that's not necessarily a new thing. I mean, hell, dimensional hopping was even introduced in Twinsanity, so like, I don't know. They could have gone different ways with this. Where like, oh, in this universe, these characters are this way, or in this universe, it could have opened up to more nods to different characters, more character inclusions. I mean, Ripperoo was supposed to be in the game, and he got cut at the last minute. Like in terms of his role, you can find him like in the background of that one level, Mardi Gras, Offbeat.
Yeah.
But
it's a good level.
It's a good level. I like it a lot. Yeah, that's like the benchmark level of where it's like, this level is going to somewhat start, I think, defining Crash 4 as an experience of how fun the game like could be and actually is. Kind of like how New Donk kind of defines Mario Odyssey or something like that. Or Magic Crafters kind of defines Spyro 1 sort of for most people, and the marketing of Reignited. Just the benchmark world for that game.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your
Sorry,
thoughts?
I was replying to something on Discord. Anyway,
Sweet. Glad you're paying attention.
So what else?
Oh, this can go anywhere. Where do you want it to go? What else would you like to talk about?
I don't know. It looks like we've hit the hour mark already.
Let me see. There was one other thing I wanted to mention.
Do you have any questions?
Any other questions? Not. I'm looking at my thing. Not here. The main one was your thoughts and opinions, and we were just gonna literally riff from there. Rift. No pun intended. Riff from there. But the one other thing I thought that they could do. Speaking of, like, I was primarily thinking like Turtles in Time, something where you can have all these nods. There was this fucking bitchin' part. First off, have you seen that? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Wait, what did you say again?
What
was it?
Turtles in Time?
Turtles in Time. No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. So yeah, I probably should have explained. So Turtles in Time was this like special on Kids WB. It was for the mid 2000s TMNT show.
Okay.
And it was a multiverse story. It was actually 2012 Turtles had something similar where they teamed up with the 80s Turtles. So likewise in Turtles, did I say Turtles in Time or was it Turtles Forever? I was saying Turtles in Time, wasn't I?
Yeah, you were. I thought that was a video
That's
game.
a game. Oh fuck. Turtles Forever. My bad. Turtles Forever.
Wow. Even I was just like, "What are you talking about? Isn't that a game?" Like,
I mean, listen, it is called Turtles in Time, and it's a multiverse story. So, anyway,
why is it always about time? Why is it? It's about time. There's one time travel pun. One time travel pun.
well, Back to the Future is already taken. Back to the Future in time. Oh, but okay, so Turtles Forever was a special from the mid 2000s iteration, Kids WB, Foxbox, whatever you want to call it, iteration of TMNT, where through some shenanigans they meet up with the 80s Turtles, animated to look like the 80s Turtles. Then they meet up with the old school black and white, more mature Turtles from the comics, which spurred up all these, which is the start of the series. And so it was all these multiverse Turtles iterations coming together to stop the 80s and current at that time being the mid 2000s version of Shredder from fucking shit up. And then there's this really badass bit where they're caught, they're all captured, and Shredder's all like, I'm gonna destroy the multiverse. And then, like, I think they're in the, what's it called? The Tetradrome or whatever. And, like, I think that's where they are. And it's this, or rather, it's this area where they have this big machine and it, like, projects these different points in, the multiverse, aka for us viewers, every other iteration of the Turtles, right? How you always think, like, you've got comic book stuff, Marvel, there's, like, so many iterations of superhero stuff, and of, like, TMNT, and of Transformers. Like, every show has different actors, different art styles, and that's just, like, the creative, vision of whatever team or developer, whoever studio is handling that particular show, right? But, like...
Yeah.
But, like, then when you do a special like this, well, now they're all considered multiverses, which is pretty creative and really cool. And then you get... in Turtles Forever, you see, like, these images floating around or whatever, and you see fucking the live-action Turtles movies, and you see, like, I think The Last Mutation, and you see, like, all these other iterations, and it's, like, so cool, because there's, like, all these different nods to how the Turtles are this giant franchise. And likewise, you would think, so I'm saying all this to say, like, well, I thought they were going to do that in Crash 4. They don't necessarily... that one-off joke where Lonnie Lolly goes, how many times have you beaten this guy? 3? Oh, seemed like more. That's as much as you get, which is very unfortunate. Because I thought they were going to really run on that idea that every iteration of Crash from all these developers are technically... that they can be their own multiverse, almost. If you want to, quote-unquote, go for that, except that... I guess the only other way you can combat that statement in the realm of Crash, which I think I've talked to Jump Button about in one of the previous episodes, is that technically everything pre-hiatus from Naughty Dog to Radical is technically not... there are no split timelines. This game, Crash 4, would effectively split the timeline, but... Crash 1, 2, and 3 are sequels. They're literally woven into each other because Crash 2 says 1 year later, and then Crash 3 takes place right after Crash 2. That's already a given. Wrath of Cortex kind of retcons Crash 3, but it is still a sequel because it's very similar. There's, this, Cortex checking up on Crash, saying, how the heck are you? Blah, blah, blah. It's been a while. That means, then yes, it's not a retcon in terms of story. It just retcons the ending to Crash 3 because it doesn't really continue off of it, necessarily, like directly. Like Crash 4, It's About Time does.
Yeah.
Twinsanity takes place 3 years after Wrath of Cortex because it literally says 3 years later at the beginning of the game. And then even though it doesn't explicitly state it, I remember seeing somewhere that Titans Titans is supposed to take place a year after Twinsanity, and then as we know, Mind Over Mutant is a direct sequel to Titans. So all the mainline 7 Crash games do in fact weave into one another. So it's not necessarily a multiverse, but you could make references to those past adventures, which they didn't necessarily do, and I kind of thought they would. And then there you get bits like Entropy's part, where you're going through, before the boss fight, you're going through that whole interdimensional tunnel, and it's that segment where you get to, that felt very much like a movie, which I loved, but like, it's the whole reflecting on the adventure because some big shit's coming up in a minute. Except that I thought, well, you're traveling through the multiverse, you're traveling through different dimensions. Why can't you have, like, whizzing by, you get past levels whizzing by? What if they were past games? That could have been fucking dope.
Yeah.
And it seems like that, where it's not a critique on the game, it's just what I thought I was going to get from the game, which you don't really. So, point being, they don't really take full advantage from that aspect of the multiverse gimmick of the game, but I get that it's also wanting to tell a straightforward story. I just kind of thought...
But the thing is, you know what? I'm getting sick of multiverse concepts. I'm really sick of it, honestly. Because it's so all the rage nowadays. It's like, everything is a multiverse and blah, blah, blah. It's like, shut up. Just do something different. Like, stop it. Like, not everything has to be different alternate dimensions and time travel. Like, just stop it. Stop it. Like, come up with something original and different. Like, I'm sure somebody can think of something.
I'm curious to see how Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart's gonna do it. It doesn't sound multiverse, but it is dimension traveling. So, like,
yeah,
we don't know.
I just hope it plays well and it's fun, and then, like, we get a whole answer about the whole Nefarious thing. It's like, oh, is that the real Nefarious, or is it Nefarious from a different dimension? Blah 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 blah.
Yeah, see, yeah. So the only thing we also just get, like we mentioned before in Crash 4 about a multiverse, is the fact that you play as, as they call the Tawnaverse. So with Tawna, she comes from this, which, by the way, is she from the pirate world? Because that's set way back in a whole different time period, which would imply that Crash, Coco, and Tawna would have to have been... How does that work? Like, there are...
Yeah, well, no, like, the thing is, I always thought that she just came there from somewhere else. That's not where she's actually from. But it's like, okay, then the question is, how did she get there? And what's going on? How did she meet up with Dingadile? Where the hell did Female Trophy come from? They don't explain any of this. The story's not very good.
They didn't put a whole lot of thought into certain things like that, or at least they're not blatantly set up. The only thing that can rectify any of that is if there is, in fact, a Crash 5 that is, in fact, a direct sequel to this game. But that's where we get into territory where I don't even know where the franchise is going to go from here, because that's my thing. I'm thinking, like, are we going to stay in this version of Crash where it's these designs, these voices, this look? Because, again, it's yet another different look for the characters, for the cast. Some are still, Radical Era, who have stayed since Radical Era, but then some got changed up by Debbie as Coco. And people do like, what was her name? Sam Riegel, I think?
Eden Riegel.
As Coco. And I like how, like, I said the name and you didn't even correct yourself. Because my headphones came out and I couldn't hear you.
Eden Riegel.
Eden. I said Sam.
Sam is her... said Sam Riegel, which is her brother, and that's Rex.
So, well, I was thinking Samantha. I thought that was her name. No, you're right. Rex is Coco. Oh no, I would not like that. Sorry, my headphones popped out. I literally couldn't hear you. That's gonna be fun to edit. I'm gonna be talking over you. Okay, no, but point being, this does effectively split the timeline into 2 different timelines, because people keep saying this game's gonna retcon with the Cortex. This game's gonna retcon everything post Naughty Dog, and I'm like, no, it's not. Literally, like, those 7 games we just established right now weave into one another. That's one timeline. Insane is insane. I know that they keep saying, Twitch Rob keeps saying that Crash 4 takes place after OG Crash 3, yet from as early as the teaser with the guy in the crash suit, getting, with the TV bursting open and whatever, he's playing Insane Crash 3. In the ending to Crash 4, when you beat Cortex for the final time, you see Insane Crash 1. You don't see OG Crash 1, which could have been fucking dope. I would have lost my shit. But it's Insane Crash 1.
Insane. In-game.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Strong man.
Aaron loves to point out when I say things a certain way. But, that said, like, Insane had to have... Because there was that whole theory about, Coco fucked with shit in the Time Twister in Insane Crash 3, and that's how come you can play as her in Crash 1 and Crash 2. That was Vivi's actual in-game explanation, or in-universe explanation as to why she's even in Crash 1 and Crash... Going through the events of Crash 1 and Crash 2 is because of that. But people had a theory of, what if that effectively rips open a weird, different, alternate timeline where then somehow in a new game that leads to blah, blah, blah. And, like, that almost kind of came true, except that they don't really regard Insane as being the product of how Crash 4 begins. Because, again, they clarified, Twister Bob, that Crash 4 starts when OG Crash 3 ends, which means we're in 1998. And I don't, like, actual 1998, sort of, and I, don't really know... Which also in itself can't be true, because Coco's laptop or tablet looks modern, and Crash's phone looks modern. So,
yeah, it's the whole Scooby-Doo thing all over again.
I don't know if it's, like, inconsistency on their part, or if we're supposed to be questioning these choices. I don't know. I just thought it was really funny.
Games, like, should take place in fantasy years that don't exist.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we got 20XX from Mega Man or whatever.
Yeah.
I think for that exact reason. So it's like, it's the future, but you don't need to know specifically when. Like, I get, like, how they want to go back to 1996, Cortex Island. And I'm like, okay, but we don't really get too many crazy nods to, like, actual OG stuff. I mean, down to the fact that past Cortex is just the same character model. They didn't even bother to, like, to make a whole different model that looked...
They didn't even bother to make it sound garbled like Brendan O'Brien.
If he had shitty mic quality, that would have been funny.
That would have been really funny. I would have laughed.
Faithful to the source material. Yeah. But even then, I mean, like, getting Clancy Brown to voice that version of Cortex could have been cool. And seeing, like, polygonal ass... Not even so much... You don't have to make them, like, faux polygonal. I mean, more so, like, even, like, updating the design. So he's detailed, but it's, like, beige skin... yellow gloves. I mean, even Crash 4 Cortex has. But point being, to make him look like old Cortex. And you can't not do that. You can't, it's not like you don't have the ability to do it or the skill. It's very achievable, seeing as you've got, like, the retro skins for Crash and Coco and stuff like that. But then also to capture, like, the authenticity, like, I've seen... Like in Astro's Playroom, there's this... Spoilers for Astro's Playroom? I don't know. At the end of the game, when you do most of everything, you beat all the 4 areas of the game, there's a bonus area where you can fight the orange T-Rex that served to be a tech demo of the PS1 days in real life on the very first demo disc. That's a level in Astro's Playroom. First off, that's fucking dope. But second off, or point being rather, that dinosaur, they went out of their way to make him look like fucking authentic. I bet if they could and had the technology to do so, they probably would have just imported an actual PS1 model into the game. That's the step away. Yeah. They were one step away from doing that. Because this T-Rex, god damn. Like, you see polygonal ass Crash, but he's still, like, smooth and highly detailed. You see Spyro, the textures are supposed to look polygonal and low poly, but they're still not quite there. This fucking T-Rex jitters the way PS1 models used to jitter. Like, I love it. Like,
wow.
You go through and you look at Spyro cutscenes or Crash cutscenes, and models just kind of jitter around because that's just how animation was at the time. They replicated that for this motherfucker, and I'm like, oh my
That's
god.
awesome. Hold on. I gotta see this.
It's fucking dope. Just look up Astro's Playroom, like T-Rex or something.
Oh god.
I told you. He jitters. It's awesome.
Oh! That's super creepy. Because it's like an old thing playing on a new thing.
Now, not to that exact jittery degree, but how cool would it have been if they like emulated that for Cortex, for past Cortex? That would have been really cool. To like make him look like the whole, because even the fucking like actual environments and stuff, while they look fine and they're still super detailed, they look really awesome and they're cool. It would have been that much more impactful, I think, if 1996 Cortex Island had that feel to it. I mean, even the fucking filter for Inverted is a more arcadey 8-bit pixelated style of like arcade game kind of a filter, which is fine. It reminds me more so of Rayman Legends, but like they could have. I mean, it would have been hard to like probably retexture all the fucking. I mean, maybe. I mean, they did it for like the crayon-ish aesthetic in the Agapus dimension, but like.
Yeah.
If they made everything look polygonal, that could have been like really cool. Well, maybe not even. Well, I don't know because see, they did it for Retro Stadium in CTR. If you can do that for that, I don't think it would be that hard to do it for Crash 4. Because you're taking detail away. I don't fucking know. Point being, certain things like that. Even if they had just at the very least got the design down, because they did do that concept art, which is in the art book, and even it was circulating around even before the art book released, of how they wanted to draw Crash, Coco, and the Cortex and them in their like most Naughty Dog-esque style that they could possibly nail before looking at that design and going, okay, what can we tweak and all that. That's what they did. But why couldn't we get that Cortex for past Cortex, you know? It would make it that more authentic.
Yeah. I don't know. They probably just weren't thinking about that. But it would have been cool if they went that extra mile. I mean, they went the extra mile on everything else. Why not that? Break your fingers to get a 10-second cutscene, but nah, putting a PS1-like model in the game is too much.
They did it for Crash and Coco, but they didn't do it for Cortex.
Yeah.
Because there's also that passing comment where he's like, where current, modern Cortex is like, do I have a weird voice? I really talk like that? And it's like, well, you're speaking the same way because it's just Lex Lane doing both Cortexes. Why couldn't
that
you?
would have made a lot more sense if he had like a different voice.
Yeah, even if it's not Clancy Brown himself, because he's probably like busy with a bunch of other projects.
If it was just Lex Lang with shitty mic quality.
Or just some other actor doing as best of a fucking Clancy Brown impression as they could. It doesn't have to be, because people are going to be going like, oh, it's not Clancy Brown. They're just trying to sound like him. And like, even taking that out, as long as you can sound convincing enough to be an actual past Cortex, I think it would have been fine.
Yeah. I'm gonna check. How do I get 90s quality audio in Audacity?
Or do that like 8-bit effect.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out. I want to do the 8-bit effect for like, I don't know, different like projects or whatever. That could be really cool.
I should start doing that for my videos. Just have like really shitty quality. People be like, "What the hell?
For all
what
of
happened to your mic?"
For all of 2021, just like you start off with this quality and then it just degrades the more videos you make throughout the year.
Throughout the year, and by the end of the year, it's just like
it's just Sardan by the end.
Nobody can understand what I'm saying. Everything's like really, really crappy and like has like static and white noise.
For those who don't watch the stream, do your Dan impression real quick, and that's just that for the rest of 2021. People are like, what the fuck happened? Oh my god.
I get like 1 million subscribers. Because they want to hear more.
We're really interested in what you have to say. We just can't fucking understand you. Can you, like, do something about that?
It would be... this is the new direction for my channel, everyone.
Everything's bit crushed and you can't hear a word.
But I have, like, really interesting topics and my videos are longer.
You do like a thank you video for 1 million subscribers, and it's the same fucking Sir Dan potato-ass quality.
So funny. I'd love to do that.
That should be like your April Fool's video.
That should be. I'm gonna do that, actually.
Well, I think we've covered many bases on Crash 4 in this podcast. Do you have any last remaining thoughts?
No, not on Crash 4 at least. Because if you've seen over on my channel, I'm sick of Crash, let's go to Spyro.
Yeah, we were going to get to that. The plugs. So even though you have been on the podcast before, some time has passed since then, and a lot has been going on. So what videos have you been putting out so far for Spyro?
Let's see. As of the time of this recording, I just have a video on Infinite Free Flight possibly being implemented into the next Spyro game. I have an entire playlist of the future of Spyro, which basically I talk about things that could be put into future Spyro games. Let's see. I have a video about the rumors and leaks that we've been hearing about, like Spyro Hall of the Gods and stuff like that. And
Sweet.
I'll be streaming some more OG Spyro later. So.
You also streamed Ripto.
Yes, I streamed Ripto the Dragon.
Japanese Spyro 1.
And it was crazy.
Oh, you also have a whole other you opened up a whole other channel, actually. You want to go ahead and plug that?
Yeah, I guess. So now I have the channel Vix Violet. You can probably find that in the description too. So far I only have about 2 videos on there. I would have 3, but one got taken down.
Damn copyright.
Yeah, I know. I have reaction videos to the first episode of Yashahime, the dub, and then the first episode of Digimon Adventure, the original one, because I had never watched an episode of Digimon before, so I thought that would be fun to do. But yeah, those are the only ones I have. That's more a channel for like cartoon, anime, and any other content that's like not video games. Whereas Miharu the Fox, my main channel, is for video games only.
Yeah. And as always, you have Alpha Red, where you've got stream highlights and other things on there.
Yeah, but I don't use it as often.
I mean, if you still want to see other things for those listening, what Aaron's up to, definitely check those out, because it's content that isn't always video games or spin on games and stuff, and little highlights and all that.
Yes, and please join my Discord too.
Discord and a Patreon too.
Yeah, and now I have a Patreon. Yay! I have 0 patrons so far.
Somebody please become a patron. All of that will be in the description. Definitely, you should go check all that stuff out. Please make it worth your while, and lend some time to Miharu so you can indulge in so much Spyro stuff and lots of
Lend me your animal ears.
Yes. Yeah, join the Foxhole, which is her Discord.
All you furries out there.
Furries and Scalies unite.
Okay.
I think that's about it. So, thank you guys for listening. We will have more returning guests and more newcomers in these next few Bandicasts coming up. I think we'll be going officially to 20 Bandicasts, and we'll end it off there. So, as you've seen kind of so far, this is your glimpse at the pattern. We're going to have a new guest, a returning, a returning. So, we'll be going in that pattern to the very end, episode 20. And I think that's what we will do. That's a pretty good plan. But yeah, thanks for listening. Until next time, I'm Mark.
I'm Miharu.
And we will see you guys later. One more time, thanks for listening, and take care.